Okay, the end's looking nice and tight at both ends. It looks like I'm ready. Now I can go ahead and measure my other pieces of baseboard. And that's what I'll end up doing. I'll put both these ends in, and then that'll help hold the corners from coming out, okay? Now at first glance, this might look pretty good, like, okay, that's all the base you gotta do, but I want to point something out. Look at this over here that I see. See if I can get you in there. See that? There's a gap there. See how the base is nice and tight to the wall, or the floor to the right. Then the floor dips down, and then it's tight at the end. I couldn't push that down because the baseboard is so tall. There's no way I could push and compress the base and bow it down to the floor. Okay? Now what could I have done there differently? Do you know? Here's a few things I could have done. Now, if you're wondering, how come I didn't put and install the baseboard down first and then run the floor up against there with the 3/8 gap, and then all I would have had to have done was put the trim at the bottom? Well, what difference does it make at that point? You know, this way my base is up taller. I got over 9-foot ceilings in here. How tall are they anyway? 9.5 feet or so, I forget. And I want that base as tall as I can get it. It's almost 10-foot ceilings. And so the other thing was too, if you make a mistake on your flooring, this is what's gonna happen. Here's a piece of base. And you gotta leave at least 3/8 of an inch on most of your laminate free floating floors. Okay, so I could have installed the base first and then cut up against this and left a 3/8 gap. Then I would have to take some quarter round and put that up against the bottom, and then that sticks out about 3/4 of an inch. Well, I didn't want to use quarter round, first off. I wanted to use some smaller trim. This trim here is a quarter inch thick. And that's going to go on the bottom there. Isn't that going to look nice? It's got a nice rolled edge. And that's what I put on the other side of this room. And it's going to be pushed down like that. And that's going to finish off the bottom. I can push that nice and tight to the floor and all that. So that's why I didn't install the base first, because I didn't want to use the quarter round. The quarter round sticks out into your room 3/4 of an inch. This only sticks out a 1/4 inch. And depending in traffic areas and stuff, you don't want the quarter round sticking out so you stub your toe on it or anything like that. I mean, I've seen the quarter round and it does look actually pretty nice. But I chose to do it, the trim a little bit less noticeable, so to speak. It almost kind of looks like a little piece of the baseboard with the little indentation here, and then it kind of matches everything else. Okay? So that's why I decided to do it the way I'm doing it. Now, if you do it the other way, yeah, you can put the baseboard down first. Or if you have existing baseboard up, and then you could leave that on the wall if it's a tall base. And just make sure that when you cut your laminate flooring, you don't cut it out too far. Last thing you want is to make a boo-boo and then find out that your quarter round's not going to cover it. And don't kid yourself. If you think you're going to use 3/4 inch bull nose quarter round, maybe you go to the store and you think you've got 3/4 inch, and maybe it's only 5/8 quarter round, and maybe it doesn't cover for some unknown reason. So make sure you've got your material and measure it and everything before you start installing your laminate flooring. Might make a difference. Now there's that gap. Now what are we gonna do with that? We can't leave that. There's one thing we're gonna have to install, and most floors have it, so don't worry about it. Got a little piece of trim here, and this is only 1/4 of an inch thick. And I'm gonna put that right along the base. And it's very pliable, how it bends up and down. I can put that right like that, and I can push it right down tight to the floor. Like that, all the way along here. It's got a nice finished little rounded edge there, and I can push it there. And I'm going to install that and tape it on there and let it dry. I'll probably end up installing it just with some white DAP caulking or some sort of caulking. It doesn't have to be DAP, it can be anything. Put white, and then I'll put that up against there and put masking tape up there and let it dry. Now if I had a nail gun with me, I could use some little brads. I could push this down in there and tack it with little brads. But I don't have a nail gun with me at this project, so I've got to do it a different way. This is how I'm going to do it.